There's a really good documentary about the Ukraine situation called Ukraine on Fire by Oliver Stone. And if people had watched this documentary as of a year ago, it would definitely have been enough to just inoculate them against any kind of misconceptions about the whole Ukraine thing. Like, it would have really protected them against all of the bullshit narratives that are going around in the media. But of course, a lot of people have just not even watched this, and I recommend people to watch this. It's a really good Ukraine 101 of the past decade or so, and it also gives some of the historical context. It talks about everything building up to the past year, the past 8 years. It goes into all the history of it, so it's a really good documentary. I recommend it, and I've been surprised that it hasn't been watched more, that it's not got more spread. And as part of my Kings and Generals video, which included a 1 minute segment of this documentary because it was just a really good section, I think I've uncovered part of why it is that this documentary doesn't have more reach. And I think it's because of these copyright trolls called nikitaventures. So when I uploaded the first draft of my video, I noticed some mistakes that it had, and I made another upload of it, and then I uploaded that one. But I got a third-party copyright match on the first draft. So it says, this is how all these third-party copyright matches appear. Copyright owner using content IDs claims some material in your video. So this is automated. And the copyrighted content, Ukraine on Fire, claimed by LDS and nikitaventures. So it was a fair use. You can watch the video on Kings and Generals right now. You can see that it's clearly a fair use case. So I appealed and submitted a counter notice. The following claim in your video has been disputed. Good faith belief that the claims described above have been made in error, and that I have the rights necessary to use the contents of my video for the reasons I have stated. I'm sure that I own all the rights to the audio and visual content in the video, and I want to dispute the claim. Understand that my video will be reviewable by the claimants so they can review my dispute. Understand that filing fraudulent disputes may result in the termination of my YouTube channel. And then you sign it, and this is a escalation. This can be escalated and escalated and escalated and eventually go to court. But none of these ever go to court. Someone always backs down before it gets that far. So it's like a game of chicken, basically. But usually one party knows that they're wrong when they're doing it. And in this case, it is nikitaventures, as we'll see. So, after I filed that first counter notice, they disputed it. So a person actually manually filed a counter. After reviewing your dispute, nikitaventures has decided that their copyright claim is still valid, which it isn't. So this was a false counter notice that they filed. So by that time I'd already edited the title to something close to what the final version would be. So they did that, and it's still like that here. Here is the first draft. I've got two drafts. The first one went up, the second one went up, the first one stayed private, and I'll probably delete it eventually, but I want to use it here. So here it is. Cannot be monetized, dispute rejected. I think it would be blocked in countries as well. Like, it might be blocked in Germany, but it's ineligible for ads, and also that kills its reach on YouTube. If YouTube can't make money off of it, then it's not going to show it to anyone. So whenever someone does this to your video, it really screws over your video. The whole point in uploading videos is that people get to see it, and also that you can make money off of it. So if you can't make money off of it and no one can see it, the video is dead, and this is what they're doing here. This is why they're doing this. So I made another video. Of course, I edited it. So I made a re-edit and uploaded that one. And for that, I filed a new dispute. So I did it again. And this time, the first time I only said this, I said something close to this. The highlighted section here, this is close to what I said. But in this next one, I included this. So I'll just read the whole thing that I appealed with in my second appeal. This is the whole thing as a paste. A 1 minute part of the original work is used to assist in small part in a 54-minute original work of my own. The proportion of the original work used is very minor and constitutes a non-substantial segment of my own final work. The used segment exists to aid in the purposes of criticism, comment, news reporting, and teaching, with only as much used as is required. My usage in no way affects the ability of an owner of the original to exploit the original work. By all measures, this use is safely protected under fair use and is not an infringement of copyright according to US law. And that's the law that we're dealing with here, because YouTube is an American company, so they abide by American law. Note to claimant, I'm aware of your record of copyright troll behaviour. And then I linked this, because by this point I've googled them, because they've manually filed a counter notice, of course. So on October 24th, 2022, the director of the documentary that I'm actually using, the 1 minute segment from, said, important, this time Ukrainian regime of Zelensky is trying to censor our film Ukraine on Fire by hiring copyright trolls company nikitaventures and illegally claiming that we are violating copyright for our own film. Please share and react. So he links the original documentary here, Global Tree Pictures, that's who has uploaded it. He links that, and then he posts, due to a copyright takedown notice that we received, your video will be taken down from YouTube in 7 days. And this is another tool that these copyright trolls have. They can also file takedown notices, which is a strike against your channel. That's really punitive. That's something YouTube gives you the option to do. I've had to use it a few times when people have just re-uploaded my video completely in its entirety and basically duplicated my video and tried to just steal my video, basically. That's what that is. Whenever someone doesn't add anything whatsoever, isn't using it for any purpose except for being malicious, just stealing your video, that's when you use a takedown notice. And they've tried to do that to the original documentary, the original version of the documentary on YouTube with 1 million views. So that was really malicious. Global Tree Pictures, this is their documentary, they made it. And it says here, a video will be taken down from YouTube in 7 days. 7 days is a grace period to give them time to file a counter. So he filed a counter to that. nikitaventures wants to give you an opportunity to resolve your copyright issue before your video is removed and a copyright strike applied. So they're trying to make him get scared and delete the video himself, which is him admitting fault, which resolves it. So you admit fault and you take down your video, and that ends it right there. And that's what the 7 days is for. It's to give you a chance to do that, to resolve it like that. But they could have just filed a strike and taken it down immediately, which would have been really bad, because that would have, like, if this was to go to court, they could be sued for damages because they wouldn't even have given the 7-day period. And then I think it says somewhere that it was released. Show more. Quick and decisive victory. So that was about 10 hours later at 7:44 a.m. So that was 8:44 a.m. in Germany, because it's nikitaventures is a German company. They reviewed it and released it. So first thing, next morning, they reviewed it and released it. He filed an appeal, a counter, and they released it. So they filed a fraudulent takedown, copyright takedown notice to try and get the video off of YouTube, and then they pussied out. They released it, so that's them admitting that they made a mistake. So this was a fraudulent takedown notice in the first place. They tried to fraudulently take this video down. So it seems like he was right here. Hiring copyright trolls and illegally claiming that we're violating copyright for our own film. So that's what I was dealing with here. So I included an awareness of this in my second counter, the first counter of the new video, the final draft. I said, note to claimant, I'm aware of your record of copyright troll behaviour. I've been on YouTube for 15 years and I've won every single copyright issue I've ever engaged in while never having infringed anyone's copyright. I usually publicise in video form the more notorious and protracted episodes, example here. And then I'll link an example of when my video started to get mass third-party copyright noticed, and I showed people how to appeal these. Like, I showed people how to deal with this, and I explained the reasoning behind this and how it was all fraudulent. Look at this, I got all these dumped on me, and I won all of them because it was all fraudulent. And I said, here's what to do. False positive matches, how to dispute. So I showed how to deal with this. and I linked that video to show that I'm aware of what I'm talking about. And then I said, I do this for educational purposes and to warn other people of how to be aware of and deal with copyright troll behaviour when these unnecessary situations arise, and to hopefully reduce their future occurrence. And there is me filing the appeal. I recorded myself doing it. I didn't record myself doing the first one, but the first one pretty much is just this part here on its own. This is what I added for the second appeal. So I sent that, I filed that, and then next morning, in the afternoon, they released it. Good news, after reviewing your dispute, LDS has decided to release their copyright claim on your video, Kings and Generals. Don't know why it says LDS there, because it was Nikitaventures. If you earned any money during the dispute, you should receive that money as part of your next YouTube payment. So that was them releasing it. They admitted it was a fraudulent claim. I got annoyed about this, and I went looking, and here's their website. They are a German company, GmbH, nikitaventures, based in Berlin, Germany, a German company, media company. This is what they are. There's the CEO, CFO, music channel manager. So one of these people were responsible for this decision to do this. And they have a phone number as well, but I didn't phone them. A mailing address. But what I did do is I emailed them. YouTube section, about section with instructions. So here is their YouTube channel. Your video has been claimed by us, then you should read this information. And they link to this. It's an empty channel otherwise. Germany. What's this? Imprint. So this is their website to dispute a claim. We're a distribution company that manages the rights of audiovisual content on the internet. Films, TV shows and music recordings. Usually we're not the producer to which we hold rights, but the streaming rights distributor. We have a license agreement either directly with the producer or the artist or with another party. But it seems like they didn't, because they were going around filing fraudulent copyright strikes on people. And then if you click dispute a claim, it gives you this, but you do this with YouTube, you don't do it with these people. They can reject this on their own, and they will. There's no reason to use this service. And they ask for a lot of information here, more than you're legally required to give to dispute a copyright claim, so never do this. So I ignored that, and I think everyone else should. And also I googled other people to see if other people have dealt with this company doing this bullshit, and I found an example of someone filling in this form and they couldn't even submit it, because whenever they put in their signature it would say their signature was invalid. So this doesn't even work apparently. It might just be a insidious way for them to get your information without you realising it, if you can input it, but they can't even acknowledge receipt of it. 4 employees on LinkedIn, 2 to 10 employees. And here are the 4 factors of fair use. And this is important because if you understand this, you understand how to estimate a balance of whether what you're doing is fair use. So there's the purpose and character of the use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the portion used, and the effect of the use on the potential market for or value of the work. So the purpose and the character of the use, factor 1. Non-profit educational purposes are generally favoured over commercial uses. So I was using mine to make money, but then again, something like 98% of my video is mine and doesn't use anything from anything else. In addition, the statute explicitly lists several purposes especially appropriate for fair use, such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship or research. Well, my video does all of those. It's all about criticism, I'm commenting, to an extent I'm reporting on news, I'm teaching, and you could argue scholarship or research. There could be some value there as well. Not all non-profit educational uses are fair, so even the profit, commercial versus non-profit, isn't a determiner for factor 1. Courts also favour uses that are transformative or that are not merely reproductions, of course, which mine is. Fair use is more likely to be found when the copyrighted work is transformed into something new of new utility meaning, such as quotations incorporated into paper, which is pretty much what happened there. Or perhaps pieces of a work mixed into a multimedia product for your own teaching needs. Exactly what I did, or included in commentary and criticism of the original. This is exactly what mine was, and to an extent this. So factor 1 would be found in my favour, because it's educational, and it's transformative, and building on the original work, absolutely. The nature of the copyrighted work. Unpublished nature of a work, such as private correspondence or manuscript. No, it's not. The one I was using was public. You can watch it right now. Anyone can watch it without paying. It's free to use. Anyone can watch this documentary right now. It's completely free. So, factor 2 would be found to be in my favour as well. I'm using something that is free to everyone in the world pretty much on YouTube. I'm taking a part of it and I'm using it for something else. So factor 2 would be found to be in my favour as well. Fair use applies more to non-fiction than fiction. Yep, once again. Creative works. My work was creative, absolutely. Courts are usually more protective of art, music, poetry, feature films and other creative works than they might be of non-fiction works. Well, yeah, that was a documentary. And it's an educational documentary, so that would be found to be in my favour as well. The amount or substantiality of the portion used. Well, I used a minute of a 90-minute or 2-hour documentary. Let's have a look. 90-minute, 94-minute documentary, yeah. So that would be found to be in my favour as well. The effect of the use on the potential market for or value of the work. Alright, so let's start here. Effect on the market is perhaps more complicated than the other 3 factors. Fundamentally, this factor means that if you could have realistically purchased or licensed the copyrighted work, that fact weighs against the finding of fair use. Well, nope, I couldn't have purchased it or licensed it. It's free for everyone. It's completely free and anyone can watch it whenever they want. There's no barrier to entry, there's no obstacle to access it. To evaluate this factor, you may need to make a simple investigation at the market. A work may be reasonably available if you're using a large portion of a book that's for sale at a typical market price. Nope. Effect is also closely linked to purpose. If your purpose is research or scholarship, market effect may be difficult to prove. Yeah, exactly, and that's what it is. So I'm using mine as an educational thing, and it supports it. So yeah, that would not be possible there for someone to demonstrate that I'm affecting their ability to market their work. Absolutely not. If your purpose is commercial, then adverse market effect may be easier to prove. Occasional quotations or photocopies may have no adverse market effects. Exactly. So that's all that was there. It was a minute segment. But reproductions of entire software works and videos can make direct inroads on the potential markets for those works. So on all 4 factors, I think I come out ahead. All 4 factors are in favour of me, I think. And that's largely because I use such a small part and it's purely educational and it's completely transformative. So if this was to have gone to court, it would have been a complete blowout, which is why they decided to stop escalating, because as soon as I indicated any assertiveness or awareness of the law, which I did here, like I was aware of the situation, they immediately backed out. So I sent an email and I said, "Hi, your third-party copyright matched what I determined to clearly be a fair use case of a work you claim to own the rights to. Upon examination, it became dubious whether you own the rights to this work. The work in question is Ukraine on Fire. Here's what makes me doubt that you hold the rights to this work." Then I'll link the tweet where the director of the documentary himself describes them as hired copyright trolls. And then I said, if you're unlawfully enforcing copyrights with respect to works you do not even own, that could be considered fraudulent misuse of copyright or copy fraud. Something like copy fraud anyway. In addition to that, I filed an appeal to this notice, which you then countered. You manually reviewed this and upheld the claim, which makes you legally liable. And then I linked the dispute. They decided the copyright claim was still valid. By that time, I was already editing and uploading another improved version of my video using this work, and I again was hit with an automatic copyright notice. I again filed an immediate counter notice, In my counter notice, I decided this time to include my awareness of this tweet, and also alluded to previous dealings with copyright trolls and my past desire to have made these episodes public to raise awareness in the case of misconduct or fraud. You then release this claim after deliberating for about 7 hours, and you can actually see in your analytics when they click on the video and review the copyright, and the video got about 3 views over the span of about 7 hours. So they woke up at like 8 a.m, watched my video, and then they went off and had some coffee or something, and then they clicked on it again at like 10 a.m, and then they ignored it, and then 5 hours after that at 3 p.m, they finally released it. And I've got that documented as well. So they released it at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon, after having came into the office and looked at it at like 8 or 9 a.m. So it was about 7 hours gap between when they first reviewed, manually had a person look at this dispute, and when they actually eventually released it. So I said, I'd appreciate if you could clarify some things for me. One, do you own any of the rights to Ukraine on Fire, which would give you lawful grounds for enforcement of copyright of this work? Because this tweet here by the director makes it seem like they don't. It looks like they don't. And he accuses them of being stooges for Zelensky and trying to censor the film by hiring copyright trolls. And then he names them and says that they're illegally claiming that we're violating copyright of our own film, so they don't know what they're doing, for a start. And then I said, why did you manually review and counter my first copyright counterclaim, but manually review, but then decide to release the second one? How can the same fair use case plausibly produce 2 different decisions from personnel at nikitaventures? Then I said, if you can answer these to my satisfaction and provide a reasonable explanation to show how this is better than it looks from here, then I'd consider the matter settled and not take this any further. Looking forward to your response. And they haven't responded. They ignored that. That was 5 days ago. I sent that on February 24th at night, and the weekend passed, and we're now on Tuesday morning, and they haven't done anything. They haven't said anything. So I think they have nothing to say in their defence, and I'm making this video, as I threatened to do, to show that nikitaventures are malicious, bad faith copyright trolls, and they are misusing copyright to try and censor a documentary. And the accusation offered by the director of Ukraine on Fire, Igor Lopatonok, he might be right that they've just been hired to censor this documentary off the internet. Because as I said at the start, I was always wondering why it was so hard to really find this documentary, why it wasn't being linked all the time all over the place, and why people weren't using clips of it to expose the current situation with Ukraine and to give the real backstory to it all. And it seems like it might actually be because of what this guy says here. So yeah, another aspect of this propaganda blitz apparently being exposed as a result of my Kings and Generals video. I'm glad I decided to include a short clip from this documentary when I was making that video, because we've uncovered yet another rabbit hole. Yep, so watch this documentary, I recommend it. Really good documentary. And if they're trying to censor it, there must be a reason for it. So, on you go. Give it a shot. I'll link it in the description.